Today we are going to continue our discussion about interpreting graphs using the graphing calculator. Please go ahead and flip the page to discuss what revenue is. This is an application of quadratic functions. First, let's define what revenue actually is. Revenue is different than profit. You might have heard of what profit is in the past. That is all about how much you invest versus how much you receive and whatever that difference is. Revenue, on the other hand, deals with how much you are selling or how much you are bringing in based on cost. So please go ahead and write down the following. Revenue is a product of the price per unit times the quantity, which is the number of units that are being sold. So there's price and there is quantity. So please note that whenever we are working with revenue questions, we will always define our variables first. Our variables are going to be R of X and X. R of X represents your revenue. It might be weekly, daily, monthly, etc. You would say R of X equals weekly revenue, daily revenue, monthly revenue, based on whatever the question is asking of you. X is always your number of units that have changed or number of changes. So number of unit changes. So for example, you might see that X is the number of price changes. Etc. Please also note that revenue is a function that is not in standard form. Revenue is going to be a function that is one quantity or one thing times another thing. So whenever we are talking about a product, revenue is always written in intercept form. Remember that intercept form is where you have y is equal to a times a set of two parentheses. Here we go. With the graphing calculator, which you will need a graphing calculator for this example, if you need to pause the video to grab yourself a graphing calculator, that is fine. But it says, with a graphing calculator, answer each of these questions. Here is example 2. It says a video store sells about 150 DVDs a week. Yes, I know it is DVDs. This is an older example. You can do this. A video store sells about 150 DVDs a week at a price of $20 each. The owner estimates that for each $1 decrease in price, about 25 more DVDs will be sold each week. How can the owner maximize weekly revenue? So these are the key things that I would want you to highlight or see from this. First of all, when it comes to revenue equations, we always have to name our variables first. So R is going to be my weekly revenue. I know that because of this language right here at the last question. Weekly revenue. And X represents the number of, in this case, we have price. Our price is being decreased by $1 each time. So X represents the number of price decreases. So now I'm going to write my equation. R of X equals R of X equals, so remember it's price per unit. And I'm going to write down 2 parentheses. I don't know what an A value is quite yet, but don't worry about it. We're just going to write our equations as such. So to write our equation, I always write down where we started. So we have price, and my price that we're starting with is $20. So this first parenthesis is dealing with price. And what is happening to the price is it's decreasing by $1 every week. So it's being decreased by $1 every week. So I'm going to write minus 1x. If this was decreasing by $2, I would write 20 minus 2x. If it was decreasing by $10, I would write 20 minus 10x. If it was increasing, I would write 20 plus x. So that's how we would deal with our price. The next parenthesis deals with quantity, and I always write down where I'm starting. So I'm starting with 150 DVDs that are being sold each week. And what's happening is that every time the price decreases, 25 more DVDs are sold. So that means more. I'm going to be selling more units, 25x. So if I decrease the price one time, I'm going to sell more DVDs. And I'll be selling a total of 175 DVDs. So we want to figure out how can the owner maximize weekly revenue. So this is our formula, and the key word here is maximize. Whenever you see maximum, minimum, anything like that, we are always looking for the Y part of our vertex. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this function into our graphing calculator. So I'm going to take out my graphing calculator, and I'm going to clear anything that I have in here so far. And I'm going to put it in exactly as I see it, into Y sub 1. So I turn on my graphing calculator, I clear out any of my parentheses, and I'm going to press Y equals. In parentheses, I'm going to put 20 minus x, close the parentheses, times 150 plus 25x, close the parentheses. From here, I'm going to look at the table. And I'm going to look at the table and identify symmetry. So the way you identify a table is where you press second graph. Notice the word table right here, second graph. And I'm looking for symmetry. So I'm going to zoom in so that you can see in the table. We're looking for symmetry. 3,000, 33, 36, 38, 4,000, 41, 42, 42, 42, right here. Symmetry in my table. We have 4,000, 4,200, 4,200, and we have ourselves symmetry right here around 4,225. So I can clearly see my vertex is located. I'm going to zoom out and write that my vertex is 7, 4,225. So what does this mean? Well, it means based on the Y part of our vertex that the maximum weekly revenue is 4,000. We always put dollar symbols in front of our money. $4,225. That's our maximum weekly revenue. That is based on the Y part of our vertex. You might be asked on an assignment or on a quiz or a test what the other parts of our vertex means. And so what 7 means is that the price needs to drop or decrease 7 times or $7 to the weekly revenue. You might be asked as well, how much should you sell it for? So remember that your first parentheses represents price. So how much should you sell it for? Well, if we have $7 in terms of decreasing the price $7, that means that the price that we should sell it at is 20 minus 7, which is $13, should be the price. And how many DVDs will you sell? Is the number of DVDs you will sell is going to be 150 plus 25 times 7. 150 plus 25 times 7 is 325 DVDs. So if you drop the price to $13, that means that more people are going to buy DVDs. 25 more DVDs will be sold. How many? 325 DVDs will be sold. The best price is $13. And if you do that, 325 DVDs will be sold. And if you multiply 13 times 325, you'll reach a maximum weekly revenue of $4,225. All of these pieces is exactly what you need to do for some of your additional problems. The next two problems are pairs and solos. Please feel free to try them on your own, and then we will talk about them the next time that I see you. That is the end of this part of the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, I will talk to you next time.